Hi there. How you doing tonight? Now I'm with you. I'm sorry. I had to do something and send it to one of the associate deans. So okay. So now I can give you my full attention. So go ahead. You can ask me what you wanted to ask me. I think you were asking me about type, right?
Yeah, like what should I do to install other fonts for my HP?
Okay. First of all, you're on. Did you say you're using a Mac or a PC?
Oh, I have to use my PC for Illustrator.
All right. So there are different types of fonts. There are fonts that are correct for a Mac, and there are fonts that are correct for a PC. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to download any fonts that are for a Mac unless you intend to put it on the Mac. And if you're going to be working with fonts on the PC, you have to understand that there are fonts for the PC specifically. And you may not be able to get every single font that you want for both. And sometimes what they do is they'll make a version for the PC of a font for the Mac, and it is almost exactly the same, but not 100% exactly the same. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so the first thing is if you're going to be working on the PC, what you need to start doing is you need to start making sure that you are either going to sites where you can get free fonts for the PC and not the Mac, because you can do say a Google search that just is free fonts for the PC, and you'll get PC fonts. You can also do a search for free fonts for the Mac, and you'll get sites that are predominantly directed towards fonts for the Mac. Now, both of those will probably also include for the PC or Mac, depending upon what you're searching for. But you just got to make sure that you are clear with the idea that they do not work on both. You can't. I think there's maybe one type of font. It might be. I see again. I'm not really that great at this because I don't use that many fonts, free fonts. I have some that I've used. I use fairly standard fonts for most of the work that I do. Although sometimes I get a little bit crazy and I go look for fonts. But I think there are some fonts. There might be a TrueType font. You might try finding out that some of the TrueType fonts might go cross-platform now. But I still think the majority of them are for either the Mac or the PC. That's really what I think it is. And usually if you're on a PC, do you know how to install a font if you get a font on your PC?
Well, this class is really the first time that I've been into my PC actually working with the programs.
So let's
I
say, for instance, you download a font from your PC for the PC. Generally what will happen is you'll get a folder, and inside the folder there'll be several files, and one of the files is actually a font file. And when you double click on it, it will open up usually, and it'll show you the characters that are available in that particular font. Sometimes it'll only be lowercase and uppercase and numbers. Other times it might be different weights. It all depends. It kind of depends on what it is. Usually to install a font, all you have to do is, sometimes you can click that open font when you open it, and it will say install font, and you click that and it'll install it. Other times you'll notice that there's a little place at the top of the little window that pops up where you can go and click on that, and it'll say install font, and then it'll automatically install the font. So generally speaking, it's not all that difficult to do that. You just have to make sure you got the right font. I'm not sure. I may have a font. Let me just see. I got to think of where I put it now. I may have a font that I can show you. Let's see. Where would it be? I can't, you're hitting me with this like cold, so I'm not exactly sure where I put my fonts. If I knew this was coming, if I was more aware of this coming, I could have probably had a font that I could show you a little bit better. At this moment, I'm not exactly sure where it would be. So let's see here. Let's open this guy up, and let's go to File Explorer. Let me go to, would it be Documents, Links, My Pictures, My Videos?
Because it's like when I started like with my Mac, I could navigate around it. I'm pretty good at what I do on that. But when I went to my HP and I started doing the work, I'm like, oh man.
Yep, here we go. Here we go. Whoa. Here we go. Okay. All right. So all right, let me go back. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but here, look. See what I got here? I got a folder that's called free fonts. See them?
Yep.
Okay, so these are a bunch of fonts that I downloaded. And if you open this up, there's Ventura, Bantzers, Barbaro, or whatever, Christian Time, whatever, Chubby, Curly, all these fonts. And if you open these things up, inside here, they show you what these fonts look like. So that's what the font looks like. Okay, it's a demonstration piece. And it's a free font. And if you look at this one, see, it's showing you what the font looks like. But they have this folder right here. It's an open type font. You see what it says? Title, Aventure, bold, type, open type font. Now, there's a README in here. If you looked at this, it would tell you, thanks for your support. This cool custom font is from Jimmy Kalman. More similar products. It gives you links to him. More cool deals at, so in other words, it's in here. You can actually contact him, okay? If you want to contact him, you can go and you can check him out and see what other fonts he'll offer you for free. So that's basically what that README is. This is a free font, so when you double click on it, you see what it says right there? Install. Now, I'm not going to install this because, to be honest with you, I think I already got it installed. Hey, you know what? I don't care. I'll do it. I'll click on it. Let's see what it says. Oh, look, it's installing it. So I didn't have it installed. So it's installed now. You see, that's all it takes to install it. And if I go in there, I can close this now. And if I go into Illustrator, Aventura Bold, let's see, go into Illustrator. And I don't think I have to even restart this. Let me just quickly, Aventura, I got to remember it because I have, I'm getting old and I forget things. So let me come in here and let me get the type tool and let me type AVENTURABOLD and let's go up to this and let's type in, you know what, let's make this bigger so I can see it. Let's do that first so we can actually see this thing. Go 72. There we go. And now I'm going to type in here AVEN Aventura Bold. Look at that. You see it? Click on it. There's Aventura Bold. There it is.
Okay.
So, there you go. It's really just as simple as that to install a font. No big sweat.
See, like when it comes to installing fonts, when it comes to my Mac,
yeah,
I have to open up my font book. I have to.
Font. That's right. Or what you could do is you can install a program called Type Manager or Font Manager. I can't really remember the name because I haven't had a Mac in a while. Hi, Francis, by the way. How are you?
I'm okay.
Good. Glad you're here. We're just talking about free fonts and how to install them and whatnot, So,
what was those two sites you just gave me?
The sites for this guy?
For the fonts for the Mac.
Well, I didn't give you fonts for the Mac. What I gave you were his sites, what he has listed in his information.
No, remember you just said like font tool or font manager.
I'll go back. Here it is. Read me text. It's,
no, not that one.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Free font. No. What I was telling you to do is I wasn't telling you that they're sites. What I was telling you to do that if you did a general Google search for free fonts for the Mac and free fonts for the PC, what should come up are a bunch of font places that sell fonts, or not sells them, but give them away for free. There should be a bunch of them pop up, and you should be able to go in there and look at the fonts, and if there's any you like, you can download them for free.
Yeah, but I wasn't talking about that.
Have to join. You might have to sign up or something,
I was talking about the one that you said that was for Mac, but you really haven't used it that long because you haven't had need to for the Mac. You were just saying it before she came into class.
What was I saying?
You really didn't remember what the name was, but you said it was either one or the other.
I can't remember what I said. What I was saying. I'm trying to remember
what I was. It was something that had management in it, or.
Oh, font. You're talking about the application that you use to install the fonts on. Yeah. Okay. I don't exactly remember the name because I haven't had a Mac in a long time, but I think it's Type Manager or Font Manager, something like that. font. You could look up Font Manager. Try looking up Font Manager and see if something comes up. Macintosh Font Manager or Macintosh Type Manager, something like that, and see what comes up. And maybe the right name will come up. And I'm not sure that that's the right name. Like I said, I've had a PC now for the last 12 years, and I haven't owned a Mac in about 12 years. So I'm very rusty on things like that. But I did have the program when I had my Macintosh, and you had to use that program to install the fonts. It was more difficult to do it. Whereas on the PC, especially these modern PCs, you saw what I did. I just literally opened the font up, and it said right there, install font, and I clicked on it, and it installed the font, and there we're looking at it right there, you know?
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, this font doesn't look like very much. I mean, actually, the A's and the B's and whatnot looks like his custom lettering. The rest of this just looks like a regular font that he's using. So I'm not really sure, you know, whether this is really a legitimate font or not. You know what I mean? Unless you look at the cap letters. If I did this all in caps, let's see if I can do that. Go to character. Let's go to character, and let's change this to all caps, and let's see what happens. See, there's just that special cap there. The rest of this just looks like maybe a Ventura. Let's see what Ventura. Let me try this. Let me do this. Let me see what that looks like. Let's see if we go to Ventura. V-E-N. Ventura bold. See, I guess I don't have it on here. No, I guess I don't have Ventura on here. Let's see if I do. Let's see if I do. I don't think I do. See, what am I thinking about here? Maybe it's not even the name. Viner, Verdana. That's not Verdana. Let's see. No, that's not Verdana. Let's do this though. Let's go quickly back to all caps, remove all caps off. So actually, it doesn't look. Let's try this as well. Let's bring this down to regular again. You see what I'm doing? I'm just basically applying a fake all caps to this. That's all I'm doing here. Yeah, so it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of similar. See what I mean? So I just think that the caps are what he's creating. The other thing looks like some sort of a regular font that he's just basically working with there. But I mean, you know, it's not fair for me to say that. I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? I just don't know. So does that help you? Yeah. Good. Okay. Now you were also talking about having some trouble creating an apple.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Francis, let me talk to Francis for a minute. How you doing tonight, Francis? Have you done any of your work for this week? Got anything you want to tell me about or mention?
Not yet. I'm working on it though.
Okay. What have you decided to do? Have you kind of figured out some sort of a plan for your painting? You going to do a cityscape or a landscape? Did you think about it?
Not really, not yet.
No. Have you tried anything with the fruit yet?
I'm either going to do the tomato or the pepper.
You can do the tomato or the pepper. Okay.
Yeah, the apple is not. It doesn't have like enough shine on it or something. I just don't like the apple.
Yeah, I thought I liked the pepper because the pepper gave me a tremendous amount of detail to work with. But you know what? I'm going to actually play around with the tomato and the pepper because there still is some stuff on here that you can do. You can actually get some stuff on here if you're willing to give it a shot. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an idea of how I approach this, just so that again, I don't know how good you are with Adobe Illustrator yet. I think, didn't you say, Brooke, that you're kind of new to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Francis, how about you? You have some experience with it?
Yes. I graduate in June, so I have plenty of experience.
Oh, okay. So you think you'd be able to come up with something that looks sort of like that?
We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm going to show you how I did it. I'm going to probably, because, you know, I don't have an awful lot to do tonight, and I figure we'll probably end up leaving a little early since this is our last class before Christmas. And I'm going to be expecting Christmas cards from all of you people. So, Don't disappoint me. And I'm hoping that you've created them yourself, actually. You know what I should ask Brooke? Did you watch the video last night?
I went back and started watching week 2's videos so I could catch up with week 2.
Well, your artwork was featured in last night's video.
Oh.
I did a discussion about your logo, your type logo, and I played around with your what was it? Classy Lady?
There was a couple I sent you. I sent you Classy Lady. I sent you one I was using for my own logo. That was the Mike's Design Company logo, the Old English with the.
I went over both of them. That's my point. I actually in class I went over both of them. We fooled around with them. Right, Francis, you were here.
Yes, sir.
Right. Was I cruel to Brooke?
No.
No. What did you think? What did you think? Since you'll see it, Brooke. What did you think about what I did with his fancy lady or classy lady logo?
I liked it.
Did you like what I did?
Yes.
Yeah. Was it easy?
Yes.
Yeah. Even playing around with the letter C, that wasn't all that difficult, was it either?
No.
No, because again, but you see that's the whole point of creating a logo. When you create a logo, you don't want to just take type, like, serif or sans serif type, and just put the sans serif type in there cold and flat, because anybody could do that. The trick to making a logo is to try to do something to it. And I will admit that, Brooke, even though there were a couple of things that I criticized about what you submitted, you did make the effort to go in and modify type styles. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's really all about. And even if you're going to use something like Classy Lady, which is a nice script font, you should really think about maybe playing around with it a little bit and doing something to it that I think, I don't know whether Francis, it was you or the other girl that was here, made the comment when I showed you the type and then I showed you the other one, that what did you change the font? Remember somebody said that?
Yes.
And actually, was it you?
No.
Oh, okay. It was, I can't think of her name. She was the other girl that was here. But she was saying, what did you change the font? And I didn't change the font. I actually, I used the free transform tool to distort the font. I changed the angle of the font. And it did, what do you think? Did it make it look like a different font to a large degree, Francis?
Yes.
It kind of did, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, that's what I'm saying. When you're going to be a graphic designer, you have to really show what you can do. You have to actually do things that are going to, present your vision. And if you're not going to present your vision, then, anybody could do it. I mean, that's that they pay graphic designers for their skill, but also for their vision. You guys know that, right? I mean, it's not just the skill, it's what you learn. And the way you learn is through watching people, talking to people, looking at things, being experimental, being eager to try to do things. One of the things that I used to do when I was learning the computer, because I was a graphic designer before the computer, but one of the things that I did for years was, as I was learning the computer, Illustrator and Photoshop, and InDesign specifically, because that's what I started with. I started with the things that I knew the most. I didn't know anything about the web, because when I was working as a regular designer, there was no web. They didn't exist, So, I was learning things that would enable me to get back into the world of print. So I was basically doing stuff like ads and putting together logos and stuff like that. And I learned these programs. I didn't have the benefit of a school like you guys had. I couldn't afford a school. I had a family, and my family were young at that time, and I had to spend the money on them. I couldn't spend it on me. I just couldn't do it, And I had to learn. I was self-taught. And I basically, after I got to the point where I kind of knew a little bit about the programs, I was getting a foundational understanding of how Illustrator worked and how Photoshop worked. I just started spending as much time as I could looking at things that, and first of all, trying to figure out is this something that was done in Illustrator? Is this something that was done in Photoshop? You know, and I tried to figure that out first. And then after I made a determination that, well, this is something that would be done in Photoshop. And I'm not talking about pictures because I obviously wouldn't have pictures. I'm talking about graphic things. I would go in and I would see if I could recreate what they had done and if I could figure out how they did it. So that's kind of how I trained myself on this, and then eventually got to the point with it where I was more than comfortable with it, and then I was able to really get some work going, you know. So you know, that's how I did it, and everybody does it differently, but I definitely recommend that you try to play with it quite a bit. So okay, so what I'm going to do tonight is, I think I mentioned this, your assignment really is this. All you really have to do is this. If you can do something like this and then maybe put a gradient behind it, like I did last night. I'm repeating myself, but this is what we did. I don't know why this is, again, I'm not getting, I know what it is. I got the wrong tool. That's what it is. I'll scroll over here and drag a shape out. So now this is your gradient. And then maybe you take your gradient here and you change the angle of your gradient, 45 degree, let's go 90, okay? So now that right there, if you were to submit that, that would be a 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what they're asking you to do, right? You guys know this, right? Did you read the assignment, what they want?
Yeah.
They just basically want a line art of the, and this is really a black line stroke and a white fill. That's all there really is to that. And what I did just to make it look a little bit nicer is I created a basic shape, and it's as grouped. Control Z. Let me get this guy. I want my not my direct selection, my group selection tool. So let me get that out. So my group selection tool, and then I'm going to click on this, and all this is really is a oval shape that has a I went up into the effect menu and I went to blur, Gaussian blur. That's really what it is, blur, Gaussian blur. That's all that is. It's just blurred. Okay, so edit, undo, and then I, you know, put it behind that, so it kind of looks like this thing is sitting with a little bit of weight on whatever is behind it, which is the gradient. So you don't even have to do that because it doesn't ask for that. But it does ask you to experiment and play around with Illustrator and see if you can get a sense of it, okay? So that's really what it comes down to. Then what I decided to do was I decided to see, because this is how I am, and this is not what you have to do, but I just thought to make an interesting lesson, I would show you how I would play around with color to go in and color, basically color my drawing. And then after I color my drawing, I thought the next logical step would be to see if I could render it and give it some three-dimensional quality. And in order to do that, what I did was I used this tool right here, which is called the mesh tool. And the mesh tool enables me to create essentially gradients and control the positioning of the gradients within an object so that I end up with something that really has a kind of a three-dimensional quality. Now, do you have to do that? No, of course not. But, you know, I mean, I'm here to teach you things, and you're here to experiment and play around with Adobe Illustrator. And I'm not sure whether, I know Brooke probably hasn't done this. Francis, have you played with, I think you said you guys were playing with the mesh tool before. Did you say you played with it before?
I never used it.
Oh, you never used it. Okay, it is a little bit formidable. And it isn't the easiest thing or the most intuitive thing, and I don't use it all the time, so I'm not the greatest talent when it comes to it either. But I have used it, and I'm going to give it a try tonight. And I did create this, so I should be able to recreate this fairly close. But just keep in mind, in all reality, each time you do things, it's going to end up looking a little bit different. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'll go in and try to do this again. You'll see it's going to end up looking slightly different when I do, okay? So that's not the point. The point is I'm going to pretty much demonstrate how I did it. And then whether you decide to do it or not is totally up to you. I'm not going to hold your grade back if you don't. If you do it and you send it in to me and you do a good job, I guarantee you'll get a great grade. But that's, you know, you're going above and beyond the call of duty. And I just want to make sure you understand that, right?
Right.
This right here is what your assignment is. Choose to do this, fine. If you do this, fine. If you choose to do this, great. You see what I mean? Oh, and I'll also show you, do you guys think you know how to make that reflection down there?
No, I'd like to learn it.
Francis, do you know how to do it? You know how I did it?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay, good. So anyway, I'll do it and I'll show you how to do that definitely. All right, so you know what? I already drew the pepper, and I think the pepper's right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the tomato and I'm going to draw the apple. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on actually I'll go to the white one, I think. I'm going to focus in on this pepper for a little bit because I want to kind of give you an idea of how I went about doing this. Essentially, I looked at this as an object that has different segments to it. And even though they're not true segments, they start out being segments, and then you can sort of blend them in together and make the segments a little bit more, hidden. I did this very same thing with a pumpkin, and now I think about it, I should have opened that darn pumpkin so I could have shown you. It was a jack-o'-lantern, and it came out phenomenal. Maybe what I'll do is, if you don't mind me taking a quick excursion, let me go to File Explorer here again, and let me see if I can go and quickly find this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Let's see here. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. I don't think it's on here. No, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. Let's see. Pictures. Yep, I don't think so. Yeah, sorry. I can't bring it up because I don't think it's here. Anyway, I did a really nice pumpkin. Anyway, here's what I did. So I looked at the picture. Let's go over to the picture for 1 minute. I looked at the picture, and I made some decisions. I saw this piece right here, and even though the line is kind of weak here, I sort of figured out, you know what, I'm going to see that as a line. So I drew that piece right here, and that is my frontal piece, which is this guy right there. Okay, let's go object. Let me quickly move over here and go object, ungroup. Okay, so now I got this guy here. I'm looking at this piece. There it is. That's the piece that I did. And if I move that out of the way, I think you're going to get an idea of how I did the rest of it. Let's move this out of the way, and you can see what I did. I essentially came in here. Since this is going to cover all the rest of this stuff, I didn't have to render all of what's going on behind it. All I did literally was I created this area right here, and when I got that area and it went into the front piece, I just simply closed it off, and I get a piece that looks like that. And I did the same thing over here. I essentially looked at that shape right there, and then I just closed it off. Drag it over, and I got that piece right there. I did the same thing with this piece right back here. There's the piece, and then there's the piece. And then I looked, the same thing I did with the stem. I looked at the stem, and I see that there's a piece right here. So there's my little piece. I bring that piece over there. There's that piece. And I don't even think I closed that one. This one here is another piece, and I didn't close that one properly either. And then I got this piece, which is a piece. That one's closed. And then these are just 3 pieces that I did as one piece, this right here. And what I did was I went up here and I went to the object, and I went to path, and I went to offset path. This is how I did this, offset path. And I offset that path by, I think it was probably 2 pixels, 2px, and hit OK. And, you know what, I'm sorry, edit, undo. It was, let me do it again. I went to object, path, offset path, and I actually went negative 1px. I think that's what it was. So watch what happens now when I do it. Hit OK, and it goes in a little bit. So if I come up here and I look at this real closely, you see what it did? It offset the path. See it? Right there. That's how I did it. Then I went back in and I went object, path, offset path again. And this time I think I probably went a little bit bigger. I might have went like maybe 10px. And let's hit OK. And no, that's too much. So edit, undo. And it was probably about 6. Object, path, offset path, and I think it was probably 6. Let's try 6 and see what 6 does. Might even be too big still. And hit OK. Yeah, that's more like it. So you see there's that piece right there. So you look at this now, you got that piece, then you got this piece here, and you got this piece here. And it really basically is just one piece that you're offsetting. So when you go back up here to View, Fit Artboard and Window, okay, and if I go Object, let's go Edit, wait a minute, File, Revert, there we go, Revert, I'm going to revert this back, okay, this is all back together again, and that is basically how I drew this guy, okay, so that's how I would do it. Now I'm going to actually draw, since I'm not going to do the pepper again, I'm going to draw. Let me move over here. I am going to try to redraw for you the tomato and the apple. And I'll give you an idea of how I might approach doing this, because I might do something very similar to this. The thing with the tomato is the tomato doesn't have very clear segments. The pepper does. You know what I'm saying? When you look at this, you don't get really clear segments. So you have to kind of create the segments in your own brain. You have to look at this and say, well, where would the segments be? Where's the logical segment on this? So what I would do with this, and this may seem a little illogical to you, but remember what I'm going to do is I'm going to color it in the end, and the coloring is going to be taken from my sample, and then I'm going to maybe put highlights and shadows on it, so it will end up looking a lot better once the thing is made as a 3D object using the mesh tool. So let me get the pen tool. So what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll probably start somewhere like, oh, I don't know, maybe let's start right about here and click, and let's come around to about here, and let's drag to create the first part of that segment. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the fill and just go with the stroke on it. Then I'm going to click here, and then maybe I'll come around to here, and I'll drag so that I can kind of get my segment the way I think I like it to look. I think it probably wants to look sort of like this. That's probably pretty good. Yeah. And then I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to work my way around, I think probably about there, and I'm going to come and I'm going to try to make that thing look as much like that area as I see. I know this is probably seems a little weird to you what I'm doing. Now click on this, and then I'll come maybe to about here. Let's try doing it in segments there. Let's go like about like that. Maybe something like that will do. Not too bad. Click here. And then let's finish this segment off, this section off, this piece off. And now we'll come over here sort of like this. And that's pretty good, except there's one little area of kind of sloppiness right here. It looks like it's a little weird. So let's see if I can kind of fix that just a bit. It might be better. Let's try that now. There. Okay, it's still a little funky, but that's basically, that's my first segment of my tomato. So what I'm still trying to do here is I'm still trying to create this so that there's some character to it. Does it make sense at all what I'm doing? Or do you think this is just craziness?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, all right, well let's move on to the next piece then. So what I would then do is I'd get my pen tool again, and I would probably come somewhere around here and click, and then I would work my way over to about here, and I would come up and I would maybe try to get that part of the tomato, like that. And then I would click, and then I would come way around here because that's an easy arc to get. So I'd come way over to here, and I'd click, and I'd get that arc as well as I could get it. And that's probably pretty good right there. See that? Not bad. It's still it's a little bit dented right there, but I mean, you know, this is a tomato, and it can be a little weird, and I can always fix it afterwards. So click on that, and then I'm going to come into here, somewhere in about here, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to finish that area off. Okay, so I got that. Now all I got to do is come up here and click on this. That's it. I don't have to draw much more than that. And again, you see there's still a little bit of a funky dent right there. I can come in if I want and click that again, and I can see if maybe I can take this and I can just kind of adjust it slightly and make that a little bit nicer. And there I actually did. This one is also a little bit odd. Maybe I click on that one, and let's see what I need to do to fix that one a little bit. I think I probably have to pull it out just a bit, and that might do it. Well, yeah, it's okay. This is okay too. It's a little bit dented, but I think we're fine with it. So you see now you got a shape going here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, get the pen tool, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Click, and then I'm going to come to about here, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to create that shape right there. And then I'll click again, and I'll come way down to here, and I'll drag this out, and I'll get this shape as best I can. That's probably okay. Click here, and then once again come on into here to create the bottom of my piece, okay, and then just drag it down until it sort of makes that bottom. And again, it doesn't have to be 100% exact, it just has to be fairly close. Click that, and then close it there. So now if you take a look at this, I got that. What happened? Did I not have any color on it? What happened? Okay, let's see. Something went wrong here. Oh, I know what it is. I don't have any color on it. Let's get rid of that. And now we've got, this is black. What's wrong? I've got no black on it. Why is this not getting black? What did I do here? What, did I use the wrong tool? I guess I did. Let's try it again. Did I use this tool here? I thought I used the pen tool. I thought I used the pen tool. Let's try it again. I don't know. I screwed up somehow. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm too busy talking. Okay, so there we go. Now it's still not working. You know what? I'm wondering. Let me just do this. Click on it. Object. Arrange. Send to back. I don't know. I'm not sure why this is doing this. I always seem to run into problems. Let's first of all, let's bring this forward and let's make it black. Okay, let's try it again. Click. This is the pen tool. All right, so we want to let's go object lock. Now that's selection. There. Okay, now that's locked. Click on that. And this is, I don't know what's going on with this. Let's try it one more time. Something funny is suddenly happening here. I don't quite get it. What is this? What am I getting this star there? Why am I getting that? What does that mean? Pen tool. I'm in the pen tool, but I'm getting the star. Okay, so we're back. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll try it again. Click. Let's bring it over to here. Let's see what we get. Let's see if this is working now. Yeah, it's not. What's going on with this thing? I don't quite understand what's happening with me here. Why am I getting this? What is it doing to me? I have no clue why this is doing this. This is just one of these weird things. Again, look at what it's doing. I can't figure it out. This is annoying. There it is. There's my segment. And it does tell me it's stroked, but it's not stroked. Object, arrange, bring to front. I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Why is it doing that? It's just not filling in. Let me go to the window menu. There's something wrong. How weird is this? Yeah, it's stroke. I don't understand it. It's telling me it's stroke. It's just okay, view, preview. Yeah, I have no idea. I really don't know what's going on with this, but that really is one way to ruin your night. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it's doing that. So, all right, so I can't, let's see if I'm having the same problem. Let me see if I have the same problem with the Apple. Let me go over to the Apple for a second. Let me lock the Apple. Object, lock, selection. Let me try it. Let me try the Apple and let's see what happens with the Apple. Let me move this over a little bit. Let's see what's happening with this Apple. See if I'm having the same problem. Okay, so this one is more difficult because it's, it's got stuff going on over here. But what I would probably do is I would probably do something like this, where I would click like here, and then I'd come around to here, maybe to here. Okay, there we go. That's all right, good start. And then I'd maybe dip it down a little bit, click on that, and then I'd come over a little bit like this, maybe even exaggerate it some, and then click and then drag this thing around like that. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to throw some character into this. And then maybe I would come over to here and I would click and I would drag this up like this, sort of like that. Okay? And then click and then come down around here and do this. And I'm so far down I can't even tell where I am. Let me just go view. And zoom out. There we go. Okay, so I have to fix that. Click here. I'll fix it though. Click there. You know what I'm doing? I don't know whether you're aware of this or not, but when I'm clicking my point there, I'm retracting the curve. I'm actually creating a corner point here. This is where the curve still exists, but here I'm resetting this point so it doesn't continue around as a curve. Do you guys know that? I know Brooke might not, but Francis, do you know that I'm doing that and why I'm doing that? You there, Francis?
I'm here.
Do you know what I'm talking about when I do that?
Not really. I don't even remember even doing that, but it's been so long ago.
All right. Well, I'll show you over here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. If I click here, okay, do you see how I get a straight line segment?
Yes.
Okay. That's because I let's go edit undo, and let's go edit undo. And you see how that point, I brought the line back. In other words, I undid my click. I undid that. Edit undo. Okay, now if I come over here, watch the difference between the line. You see what the line did?
Oh my goodness.
That's because I did not change the nature of this point right there. So edit undo.
That's one of the problems I keep having.
Edit undo. Actually, I went too far. Let's go edit redo. There. That's where I want to be. So what I like to do when I do something like that, after I create my curved line, this is especially good in Illustrator. Once I create that curved line, I want to control the next curved line segment that I create. In order to do that, what I do is I come over here, and you see when the pen sits over top of it, the little V at the bottom of it?
Yeah.
All right, that's called the Convert Anchor Point tool. What I'm doing is, this is a curved point right now. What I'm doing is I'm converting it to a half curved, half straight lined point. On this side of the line, it's a curve. On this side, it's a corner. So that's why when I click here, I get a straight line. Okay? I all the time do this. This is just the way I work with this. So now what I'll do is I'll come back here and I'll lay my line in basically the way I want it. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll change the angle. I click here, and then I'll come around over to here and I'll click, and I can change the direction and the curve of the line. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I may want to leave this as a curve. So let me just come over here. Yeah, see, actually, I left that as a curve, and that didn't hurt too bad. See, so I left that as a curve, and it followed the line pretty good. Now, if I click here, I can come up to here, and I can lay that line back down, okay, and I'm following my apple around. Now, I can try to come up here, and you see how it throws it out too far? Because I didn't change the angle of that curve, or the nature of that curve. It threw the line out too far. See that? So I'll go edit undo, and I'll come back and I'll click on this, okay? Then I'll go to where I began. This is where I began. This is the first point that I created. And you'll see that now I get the little 0 behind it, which tells me I'm about to close this path and make a solid object, which is what I just did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bring this around until I get it to where I want it and get that line looking the way I want it to look. That don't look too bad. So there's my front surface of the apple. Actually, there's more to this surface than I would have liked. I would have liked this to be, let's go view, zoom out. And let me get this stuff out of the way because I'm not using it this minute. Let me move these things in and close them up. And let's just bring you guys up here so I can maybe get to that bottom and I can scroll it up a little bit. So really, there's more to the front of this apple than I would like. I would like there to be less to this apple, but unfortunately, you know, it's one of these deals that it's just the nature of this particular object. It doesn't have the same quality of faces that the other has. So there you have the front face of that apple. Then what I would do maybe is I would come in here and I would maybe do one more segment that way, and then I would do the other segment that way. So let me do that. So I'm going to get the pen tool, click over here, and I don't know, maybe I'd come over to about here and click, and then, you know, maybe I'd come in a little bit like this just for the heck of it, maybe come in a little bit, and then click and bring it up to around here and throw it out some like that. You see what I'm doing? And oh, another thing. Here's another thing. Can you see where I'm a little bit high? My anchor point's a little high up there. It's not quite on the line. You see the anchor point behind the stem? The one that I'm working on?
Yes.
Okay. I can move that anchor point by holding the space bar down. See how I'm moving the anchor point?
Huh.
I'm holding the space bar down. That lets me move the anchor point to wherever I want it to be. So I think I want the anchor point more like here. Okay?
That looks good.
So, yeah. So as long as I'm holding the mouse down, which means that this was an active anchor point, I can do that. So now I'm going to click that point, and then I'm going to come into here, and I'm going to drag the rest of that shape out, and then click, click, click to finish that shape. See, that's all you got to do, because what's going to happen is you're going to fill these things in, and when you're done filling them in, it's going to appear like an apple. Okay, and the other thing, too, is you're going to be able to now use the gradients on these shapes to make the thing look a little more 3D, okay? So that's kind of why I'm looking for these pieces. All right, so I got maybe 2 more shapes I can make here. So let me get the pen tool, come in here. I'm going to leave the apple away. I'm going to leave the tomato the way it is because I don't know why it's going wrong. Let me see. Maybe I can come back here and maybe now it's going to work. Let's see. No, it's not. I have no idea what's going on over there. I just don't know. That's just so weird. All right, well, anyway, so now I'm going to come over here, click, and I'm going to, oh, I'm sorry, I got to get the pen tool. Click here, all right? And then I'm going to come to about here. Again, I'm just going to make that shape like that, something sort of like that. And then I'm going to click, and I'm going to come down a little bit, and then come in and in and in. That's all I'm going to do with that one. And then this one here, the last one, I might zoom in on a little bit so I can get a better look at this. So what I think I'm going to do with this last one is I'm going to get the pen tool, and I think I'm going to start like right about here. And then I'm going to come up to about here. And I'm going to drag a line segment like that. Okay? And then click here again. And as I say, you sort of know, do you understand why I'm doing that?
Yes.
Okay, edit, undo. I don't like that line. I'm going to make it simpler. I'm going to just come over to here, click and drag it around. I'm just trying to get that curve there, and I'm not happy with what's happening with it, so I'm going to go simpler. Click that, click this, come down, and click that. And now I have, oh, and I'll do the stem later. Go to the View menu, Fit Artboard and Window, and let's come over to the apple, and let's see what we have with the apple. All right, so now the next step for me would be to check my layers. I like to check my layers when I do this. So let me go over to my layers, go to the Window menu, and go to Layers, and bring the layers out. And I have my trace layer. Let me go to the View, Fit All in Window so I can see what's going on with this. Move this over by here. And I can't see everything. Okay, so the trace layer has the apples on it. Actually, it has it's got the apple and the pepper. this guy here, object, let's go to object, unlock all, and let's bring the, I think you see how that's blue? That's on the right layer. This is on the wrong layer. So I'm going to drag that down to the blue layer. That's blue. Now I'm going to lock that layer. And all of my tracing objects are on that layer. Now I'm wondering, now that I've done that, I'm wondering if maybe now I might be able to make that tomato. Let's just try it one more time because maybe it was a layer issue. So let me just quickly come back in here for a second. I could be wrong, but let me give it a shot. So I'm going to click. I'm going to go to the top layer, all right, which is the pepper layer, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to come up here like this. There we go. Okay, I solved the issue. It was behind. It was being rendered behind it. So now I can do this. Okay, so I'm just going to come in. I'm going to finish working on my tomato, get my tomato basically wrapped in. Again, I'm not going to do the stems right now because the stems are a lot of work, and I really don't think we have the time to do all that. And I think you can kind of figure it out. It's the same basic process, except you're doing a different object. Okay, so there I have my front of the tomato. And for the back of the tomato, I probably would be happy with something sort of like this, where I click and I come around to here and I go click and I drag for part of the back of the tomato, click, click, and click, and then come over to here, like maybe here, and go to here and drag this up for the other part of the tomato. And I guess, again, I'm going to hold down the space bar because I don't think I have my point in the right place. Something like that. Click again, click, click, and click. And now, if I come over here, let's go to the View menu, Fit All in Window, and then we can take a look at our apple. Let's zoom in on the apple, and let's zoom in on the tomato, and let's see what I come up with. Okay, so I am going to hide the trace layer, and we got, whoops, this guy's on the trace layer. Okay, so let me do this. Let me unlock the trace layer. And let me lock the apple down. Object lock selection. And let me move this guy up to the top layer. There we go. Okay, so really all I'm doing is I'm just fixing the layers so now they're all on the same layer. Now I'm going to hide that layer, and now I can see my two objects. So I'm going to select both of them. Let me just marquee them both to select them both. There we go. And I'm going to start off by hitting default black and white. And now I got everything except one object, this object here, object, arrange, bring to front, there. And then I got this guy here, object, arrange, bring to front, there. This is a little bit better. And then this guy here and this guy here, object, arrange, send to back. Send to back. There. This looks a little bit more like a tomato. This looks okay, but I think this guy here needs to go to the back. So object, arrange, send to back. There. Okay, so can you see now if I go View, Fit, and Window, can you see now that what I've done is using the line tool, actually, I'm sorry, the pen tool, I've actually come in here and I've tried to render objects that would suggest a tomato, an apple, and the pepper. So what I would really like to see you guys do is something like this. Francis, do you think you could handle that? And does it make sense to you what I did, or you want to argue that I'm just out of my mind? What do you think? And Brooke, what do you think? Do you think you might be able to do this after you see how I did it?
I'm actually following along with you.
Oh, how's it working?
The part in the middle that would be probably right behind the stem.
Yeah.
Don't seem like he wants to go to the back. Everything else on it's just this one.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that you have to understand. When I did this, I actually started in the front. And if you think in terms of how Adobe Illustrator works, every time you create an object, that object ends up being in front of all the other objects. So I started both of my objects with the front object. This guy right here, this guy right here. I went and made this guy right here. Then I made this guy right here. then I made that little guy and that little guy. So each one of those elements ended up in front of him because he was the first one I did. Over here, it's the same thing. This was the first thing I did. That was the second thing. That was the third thing. And that was the fourth thing. So you end up with something that is backwards. So after you're all done, you have to then orient the layers in the proper position. And again, it's not all that difficult to do. And then what I would do is, as a secondary step, I'd go in and I'd render a bunch of the, let's put this back for a minute. I would render in a bunch of the stems, and I would do the same sort of process with the stems where I just do one at a time. You see what I mean? And it's the same with this stem over here. So I'll show you. I'll do this stem over here because I think it'll be a lot less time consuming and I want to move on. So this stem here, what I'll do is I'll select these guys and I will go Object, Hide, Selection. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to render the stem. So I make sure I'm on the proper layer, the pepper layer, and I'm just going to come in here. And actually for the stem, I'm going to try a different approach. I'm going to come in and I'm going to just pick it away at this because I want this to have a rough feel to it. I don't want this to be real smooth. I want this to be kind of rough. So I'm going to do everything I can to make this a little bit on the rough side by doing something like what I'm doing right now. Okay? Oh, and by the way, I'll get rid of the fill right this second. I don't need the fill this second. I'm just going to come down and I'm just going to keep picking away at this guy and give myself a really different look. So this is where you just think, as far as a designer, how do you make something look different than the other piece? And that is by just changing up a little bit. And you bring it down to about here. Now there is my stem. Okay? There's my stem. So we go View, Fit Artboard and Window. And I'm going to go Object, Show All. And all I need to do is, again, orient this stem. So watch how I orient this stem because this is a little bit different. This guy has only a stroke on it, so I'm going to make sure I put a stroke and a fill. So now it's, look at that. Actually, it's almost in the right place. So here's the deal. This guy here is in a good position, except that this guy should be in front of it. So what I'm going to do is and there's other ways to do this. I'm just going to click on this, and I'm going to go Edit, Cut. And then I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste him back. And now I've got that thing. No, I'm in a class, Dorothy. There's my stem. And maybe what I'll do just to make this a little different is I'll change this up and I'll make that black. There. And now you've got your apple. Let's go to the View menu, Fit Artboard and Window. And that is how I would do the stem. Really, you don't have to make a big deal out of it. You've got an apple. All right, so that's it. You know, that's how I would do this. And I would do the same thing for this. If I wanted to spend the time, it would probably take me a half hour. It's already 8 o'clock, and I haven't even started coloring it yet. So I don't think I want to go into that. I think you guys can figure it out from what I did here. And again, I did the same thing with this guy right over here. So you're just going to do that with the stem area, okay? Any questions so far?
No.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does the stem have to be on another layer?
No, it just has to be in the proper position. Right now, all of these objects here, watch this, they're all on the same layer. All the objects. So I'll hide the shadow. I'll hide the shadow and I'll hide the reflection. So all the pepper and the onion, the pepper and the tomato and the apple, they're all on the same level. They're on the same layer, I should say. All of that works on the same layer. This, I shouldn't call it the pepper layer. I should call it the work layer because that's really what I'm doing. Those are the work layers, and this is the shadows that I have for some of the objects, and this is the one reflection over here. They're on their own separate layer so I can hide them. That's really why I did it. Okay, I like using layers in Illustrator. Some people do, some people don't. So here's the next step. The next step is I'm going to hide this, and I think what I'm going to do, let me hide this too and this too. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to play with the tomato a little bit. So let's go in, let's play with the tomato a little bit. So what I would do now is I would bring out my color, And I would change my color mode. Let me bring this out. I'd change my color mode from RGB. Actually, I guess I got to pick a color before I can do this. So I'm going to do something like this tonight. I'm going to come in there, and I'm going to try to pick a color out of this tomato. It's locked. I don't know why it's locked. Let's see if I unlock it. Maybe I can. There I can. I can do it. All right, so I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to see what I think is probably the best tomato color for this. And I think probably somewhere in here is. So I'm going to click there, and I get that nice orange color, okay? So here's where I go up to the window menu, and I bring out my gradients. My swatches. Bring my swatches out. And as you can see here, I already have some colors in here. And I'm going to bring this swatch in. There's my tomato color, okay? And I think probably what I will do is I will go back to the original layer, and I will click on this guy right here, and I will fill it with that color right there. Only I will fill it, not the stroke it, and I will remove the stroke. So there's my first section of the tomato. Then what I think I'm going to do is, watch how I do this. I'm going to bring this up here. Oh, and I got to bring the fill forward so I can get my colors. Okay, so you see right now the color mode I'm in is in CMYK. So CMYK is not going to really work for me. In order for me to turn this into a tomato, a really good looking tomato, I have to change the color mode. Francis or Brooke, you guys know which color mode? I'm gonna open this up. You know which color mode I'm going to change it to? Do you have any ideas at all? Any thoughts on this?
RGB?
Nope. Brick, what do you think? I mean, can't think of the name. Francis, what do you think? What?
Let's see here.
Take a stab at it. No one's going to hurt you if you don't get it. Just take a stab. Which one do you think I'll use?
HSB?
HSB, you're absolutely right. Whether that was a guess or not, I don't know. But watch what happens when I click on HSB. So here we go. I have my hue slider up here, which I don't want to mess with. You know why? Because I'm using this color right here as the color that I'm going to use for my tomato. But what I want to determine is, do I want to change this color and make something a little darker and a little lighter? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to fill that with orange, and then I'm going to remove the line on it. Up. That's not what I want to do. I want to move that forward and remove the line on it. So now I've got this, but you can't see any difference. When I click on this, and I now go up into my hue saturation, watch what happens. I can come over here, and I can gradually start dragging this over a little bit, and you see what I get? I get a little bit of a different color. See that? Now, it looks a little bit pumpkin-y right now, but we're going to start playing with it later, and we're going to see that it'll actually improve quite a bit. I'm going to come over here and do the same thing with this, put the orange color into it, and I'm going to remove the stroke, come back here, and then maybe this one, I'll go the other direction. I'll lighten this up a little bit. See, I went too far with it. It's just a tiny, subtle amount so that you get a little bit of a difference between that and the foreground color. Very subtle, okay? Like this a little bit. Probably right in there is probably pretty good. That's probably pretty good. And this guy here, I think I probably went too far with too. Let me go back just a bit. That's probably better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to make that orange, and I'm going to remove the stroke on him as well. And this one here, since it's in the back, I'll bring it forward. This one here, I'm going to probably make that a little bit darker. Okay, so I can go a little bit darker with this as well. This one probably wants to be a little bit darker. Okay? And then this one here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put the orange in, and I'm going to remove the stroke. Okay? And I'm going to come in with that and do the same thing where I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Okay? And now let's go to the View menu, Fit Artboard and Window, and let me zoom in on the tomato a little bit. And I'm going to hide the background, and there is my tomato, and that is a tomato that's got some color on it, and it's got some character. And even though I probably need to subtly improve this a little bit, it sort of looks like a tomato, And we're going to make it more of a tomato by actually putting some highlights on it. Okay? So the next step would be, and you got any questions about what I did? This is a great way to do this. Why? Because what you're doing is you're not changing your hue. You're establishing a point, a hue. And I did that by using my sample tool to sample the tomato. And then after I got my color, I put it in here. And then what I did was I filled each segment with the color, and I used my sliders here to either go a little bit darker, which would be maybe on this side, that's logical, or a little lighter on that side, which is logical. And then this side over here, I probably should went a little lighter, but since it's in the back, I figured I'd go darker. And I think this one here, let me see something, go object, arrange, send to back. Yeah, that's what I want. See, I want that first. Okay, so there you go. So there's my tomato. And you know what? I personally think that looks fairly tomatoey. What do you guys think? Is it too pumpkin, or does it come off as tomato for you?
Comes off tomato. If it had a little shine to it, it'd really come off.
Well, I think that's what we're going to try to do right now. So the next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to hide this for a minute, and I'm going to take a look at this. So it looks like, you know, I can lighten and dark this area here. I can put some dark over here, and I want to try to get a highlight, a hot spot right there. So let me bring this back, and let's see what I can do here. So now, after I've done this, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to select this tool right here, which is the mesh tool. So I'm going to first select this centerpiece. This is what I'm working for. When you work with the mesh tool, what you're going to do is you're going to place points on this. So I want a hot spot in this area here. So I think I'm going to try here. There. Do you see what I did? I put a spot right there. You see it? And what it does essentially is it throws a line in this direction, and it throws a line in this direction. And you can come in with your direct selection tool, and you can come in and you can play around with these lines if you want, and maneuver them around a little bit. See, you can do things like this, maneuver it around, change the position of this. You can do stuff like that. Change the way this goes if you want. You can make it go differently. You can play around with this somewhat. Okay? But what's really great about this is now that you've got your mesh points here, you can come in, you can click that mesh point. Okay? I guess you got to do it with, no, it's actually, I think it might be clicked right there. And then you can apply color to it. Okay? So you can see that that's way too much. So what you can maybe do is come in here and try to bring this back in. Let's see if you can do it that way. And it's really not bringing it in enough. So what you would do is go Edit, Undo. I'll show you another way to do it. Edit, Undo. Okay. So,
the door, my buddy.
What? Say what? I didn't hear what she said.
I think she was talking.
Sorry.
Oh, all right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more mesh points. I'm going to hit here. And I'm going to hit over here. Okay, now notice that I put those points on that line, so it put it there. If I come up here and click here, I want you to see something. It throws a mesh line that way. If I come over here, it throws a mesh line that way. If I click here, it throws a mesh line that way. If I come over here, it throws a mesh line that way and that way. So now I have a series of mesh lines. So what I can do essentially is I can come in here and I can apply a color to this. So let's do this. Let's come over and let's apply a color to this of orange. And then I'm going to see if I can maybe change this and bring it up a little bit. You see how I'm changing the color there? I'm bringing it up. I'm darkening it. You see what I'm doing? And I'm going to come over here, click on that point, and then put orange on it. And I'm going to start darkening that one up. See what I'm doing? And then come over here and put orange on it. And then I'm going to darken that one up. So you see what I'm doing is I'm making this dark. Now if I want to, I can introduce another color. So I can click on this point right here and I can introduce another color. You see what I did? I introduced another color. Click here, introduced another color. Click here, introduce another color. You see how I'm getting a different look out of this?
Yes.
It's starting to come around and looking more like a tomato because the thing has color that resembles a tomato by virtue of the reds that I'm introducing over here. Click on this and bring that color in. Okay, now if we deselect this for a minute, you get a sense of what's going on. It's a little bit hard-edged over there, so I would probably want to try to do something with that, but you're getting the idea. So then what I would do is I'd come in here, click on this middle point, get the direct selection tool, click on that point right there, and I'd come in and I'd try putting in a very light orange. So I'd click orange, and then I would take this and I would start bringing this orange over. And I'd bring it over until I get the kind of hot spot that I'm looking for, which is a pretty big hot spot right there.
And it makes like a shine then.
Well, I can go in and add secondary things to it. I can actually dissolve a shape into it. And I think I probably want to come over here and I want to put orange into it. And I want to lighten that up a little bit as well. Okay, and I might want to come over here and click on this one and maybe lighten that one up a little bit as well. See? Just lighting it slightly. And then come over here, possibly. Let's try bringing it over to there. Let's try lightening that a little bit. See what's happening? If I deselect this, it's starting to come around and look a little bit more like a tomato. Okay. Now, I mean, you'd ultimately have to just keep working on this because it's nowhere near being done. You'd have to really play around with it a little bit and get it to where it's really working. That's probably a little extreme, but you know what I could do? I could probably come in here and I could lighten that. Yeah, see, I'm lightening it up. There we go. That's what we want to do. Something more like that. Let's lighten this one a little bit. Maybe go this way with it. That's what we want to do. There we go. See, and I'm just making these things, and you know what? Maybe that's what we want to do over here as well. Maybe we want to bring that back more to a pure color and tone it down slightly. So this is what's great about this, is that you get all these terrific points, and you can come in here and you can start playing with these points and controlling the color, and before you know it, look what's going to happen. I'm going to end up with something. I may not do this whole thing, but you're going to have something that's going to start looking pretty convincingly like a tomato. Look at that thing. Isn't that mad? What do you think of that? Does that look tomato to you or what?
Yes.
It's getting there, isn't it? So you just, literally what you would do is just keep playing with this. And remember now, you want to keep it in HSB. And you just want to keep playing with the color to get the color to do what it should do to make that thing look like a convincing tomato, you know? And I think at some point I may actually end up going back to orange in here. Let's try going back to orange and seeing if that helps a little bit. Maybe breaking that line. You know what it is? I think I need to work on this one. So what I would do then is I'd come over here and I'd click and I'd place a line like that. And I'd click here and I'd place a line like that. Okay? And then maybe what I would do is I'd come in here on this point right there and I'd start bringing this up to a darker color. Okay, now I got a hard edge going on here, so I may end up coming in here and placing another point. Let me get this tool. I may come in here and this tool here, I got to probably lock this. Go Object, Lock. Okay, lock selection. Yeah, and now I can click this again, and let's see, maybe I can play around in here with some lines, if I can get some lines that work better for me. I didn't start off with good lines here, I think. There we go. And that I don't want. I don't want that white. I want that to be orange. And then I want to be able to control the orange. I want to bring that orange back to a little bit lighter orange. Or better yet, you know what? Let's go back up a little this way, and let's go this way. There we go. Bring that back up to orange. There we go. That's a little bit better. And then maybe bring that back. Let's see. Bring it up like that. And maybe bring it back a little bit like this. That's probably pretty good right there. And then I can come around here. Let's put another line in here. There we go. And I think that I'm going to make orange. And then I'm going to start darkening that back in a little bit. Let's try this one. Let's try making that red. And then there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Let's try that red. Try that red. There we go. And let's try that red. That might be the way to go. There we go. It's a little extreme. So what I would do is I'd probably lighten that one down a little bit. And I don't know, maybe go back to orange with that. There we go. And then maybe this one here, just tone it down just a bit. That's probably pretty good. Let's take a look at it now. There we go. You know, I still have to work on it. But can you see how this thing is starting to get a real three-dimensional quality to it?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Again, I have a long way to go with it. It certainly isn't right. And I would come over here on this side, and I would do a very similar thing over here where I'd come over and start placing some lines. Probably want to go this way. Yeah, that, I don't really like that line too much. Maybe I can change it. Let's see. I can do this. Let's do this. Yeah, I like that a little bit better. So you see how I can change and maneuver the shape of the lines a little bit? That's what I want to do. And I probably could do the same thing in here. I have too many lines in here. That's really what the problem is. So if I could just move this out a little bit and maybe move this in a little bit. Oops, I didn't get it right. Undo move. Okay, if I can get that line, let's see if I can get that point. Nope, I didn't get it. It's sometimes difficult to grab these things. There is even a way to delete these lines. I just don't remember how to do it because I don't work with this that long. There we go. That's it. I deleted it. Go view, fit artboard and window. There we go. Now we got it. That's starting to get a little bit closer to what I'm looking for. But again, you know, you still have to continue working on this thing. This thing probably needs a line like maybe in here. Let's try putting a line right about through there. There we go. And I don't want white. I don't know why it keeps throwing white in there. I want that. And I probably want that to be, let's go back to HSB. Got to remember, you're working in HSB. So let's see if I maybe make this a little bit darker in there. See what happens with that. Oh, I got to hit the point first. Sorry. There we go. Now let's see if I make that just a little bit darker, what that does. Yeah, it's not too bad. That's probably pretty good. This color is completely wrong. So let's go Object, Unlock All. Let's bring this color back and let's fix that color because I don't know what I was thinking there. That just doesn't work at all. Whoop. Oh, that's the other thing. You have to be very careful to make sure that you get something selected. You either have to use the direct selection tool right here or the other tool. Now that one there, I think maybe what I want to do is hit the orange and let's make that a little bit darker down there. There we go. And let's go back to orange with this and let's go back to orange and let's make that a little darker too. I think that makes more sense. And let's come over here to this one and let's see if I can maybe make that a little darker. Yeah, there we go. Now we're working. You can also get some of these points on the outer edges. That's the other thing. Let's take a look at what we got, see if it's any better. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Let's go view, fit artboard and window. And there you go. You can see we're starting to get a three-dimensional tomato. I mean, you can just work and work and work and work on this thing and come up with something really beautiful. It just takes a little bit of time to do it. And I'm not sure that introducing as much of that color on the front here as I did is really the smart move. So I might go back to orange with it, and I might actually come in here and make it HSB and come back in and just maybe try darkening it down a little bit. Whoop, again, got to be careful. Got to make sure that you get something selected before you go and do that. I think that's what I want to select right there. Edit, undo color, undo color. Oops, what happened? Oh, God. There we go. Okay, I got to bring it way back, dial it way back. So let's bring that back to orange because I think that red is probably too much. This red probably is a little too much too. Let's bring it back more like that. That's probably a little bit better. And maybe just bring that up a bit. That's probably better. I'm thinking, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking maybe I just did too much. I think that red might be a little bit too much. So I'm going to back off the red and let's see how that works. Get that red out of there. I think it's probably, maybe that one is all right. Let's check it out. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I just don't think the red's right. What do you think, guys? You're looking at it. What do you think? Does that look a little bit better?
I like it.
The red works.
Dude.
I don't think the red's working quite right. Am I right or am I nuts? I mean, I'm probably nuts, but you see how that's working a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm noticing right here there's a bright spot. So what I would do is I would click here on this guy, and then I would come over here and click on this guy, and I would probably try lightening this a little bit, see if I could maybe get that to hide that edge. And that's helping some. But you see, I also have points here. Let me show you. I actually got points here. So what I probably need to do as well is I probably need to try to click on that point and see if I could maybe lighten that point a little bit. And then maybe click on this point. Which one do I got selected? That one right there. So let's see. Let's first of all put orange on it to make sure I got a color on it. I think that's a point that I can color. Maybe not. Maybe it's not going to let me. I think it might be. Let me come up here and click on this one. And let me try making that a little darker and see what happens. Yeah, there we go. So that's good. And then maybe I come over here and click on this one. And let's make that one a little lighter. There we go. And let's go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. And let's see what that does now. Okay, so you see how that's a little bit better, although that black doesn't work now that I look at it. But I think, you see, again, you see it's starting to kind of work its way into being more of a real tomato look. This is fun, isn't it? What do you guys think? You think you're going to try this?
Yes.
Yeah. Am I making it clear enough for you that you understand what's going on with it? I mean, are you okay with it?
Yeah, it just take a lot of practice.
Yeah. Well, you can see me. I'm struggling with it. I'm playing with it. You have to really tinker with it. It's not something that's going to just happen for you. You have to come in and you have to do tinkering with it, you know. And the problem is that the meshes kind of get in the way a little bit. They kind of get in your way that you can't really see what you're doing very clearly with them because the mesh is sort of in the way. So you have to sort of, maybe it's a good idea to zoom in on it a little bit and see what you're trying to do. Is I'm trying to darken that one right there. So I'm in a little closer, and now if I drag it over a little bit, I can see it darken. Yeah, there we go. It's too much. Bring it back and try to darken it to make it a little bit more disappearing. Go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. Let's see what I got now. Okay, better. You see how it's beginning to sort of blend in and become, now that one, that edge is looking better down there. This edge looks okay up there. Right there is where I run into a problem, and I have to work that out. And then I'd have to come over here and maybe clean up a little bit of this. But boy, I'll tell you what, is that to me, I'm beginning to see a tomato. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, as I say, do you have to do this? Nah, you really don't have to do this. This is totally up to you whether you want to do it or not. I would hope that you'd like to try to do it because I think you're going to find it's a lot of fun. I'm really kind of having a fun time doing this. This is not that bad at all to do. Let's see what I want to do here. So I want to soften that edge a little bit. So I think what I need to do with this is I need to lighten these up a little bit because I think that's what I did over here. So let me zoom in on that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to select this one first. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drag this over, lighten it just a bit. Let's see if I can get that to lighten up some. And that's probably a lot. Now that one, let's see if I can lighten that one as well. That's probably too much. Let's go back about half of that. That's probably good. And let's go over to, I think that's a point right there. Yep, it is. Let's lighten that just a little bit. Okay, let's go a little more. Let's try it now. View, Fit, Artboard, and Window, and deselect it. And there, see, it's sort of blending in. Look at that. Look at that. Not bad, huh? What do you think?
I like it.
Does it begin to look like a tomato to you? I can still see, I still see a little too much of the edges in certain places. See, the point of this is some of the edge is beautiful and some of it looks great, and that's what you want. Others you want to try to hide. In other words, you don't want the edge to be shown all the way around. You want it to disappear in areas and come back in other areas. That gives the feeling of a three-dimensional object. So that's what I'm trying to do with this. That's what I want to try to achieve. And it is the kind of thing that if you do this a lot, You get real good at it. Me, I don't do it very often. I probably would have to work on this for another hour or two to get this really where I want it to go. But I just wanted to get you to where you had some idea of how I did it. And I think maybe I accomplished that. Now, what you might want to do here is, let's see, go back to this. Let's go back to this. There maybe is another, let's see here, click on this. Maybe what we want to do is we want to put another line over here. There we go. And yeah, that's way too much, but let's go back in and let's make that red, or orange, I'm sorry, and let's try dragging that over, make it lighter, make a better spot out of it, okay, and then maybe click on this, and let's go with that orange, and let's drag that over. So we got a little bit more happening here. That's better. And then what we can do is we can come back in and place one more, maybe one more right here. Let's try placing it right there. Okay, and let's try hitting that with a hot spot of white. Let's see what that does. Let's drag this over. And we probably have to come up and hit that one. With white is lighten it up as well. There we go. Now let's see what that looks like. There we go. View. I don't want to view. I leave it right like that. So you see now, do you see how that thing is coming across as a hot spot and it's starting to look right?
Yes.
See that? Now again, I might go in there and tinker with this even more to try to get the shape a little bit better. You can come in if you want and you can select this thing and you can click on a point like this and you can drag the point to move the point over. Okay, you got to be careful when you do this. Control Z, got to be careful when you do it, okay, because it will create harsh edges if you're not careful. But you can move these things around a little bit and you can adapt the shape somewhat and get yourself a slightly different shape and maybe even a shape that you like. Once you get the shape kind of doing what you want it to do, you can then maybe increase the hot spot, the heat on one of them. And like here, for instance, maybe now I can come in, let's drag this down a little bit. There we go. Now, maybe what I can do with this one is I can click on that, and I can pump up the volume a little bit on it, and now I end up with something which is a much more hot spot for my highlight. There we go. There we go. You see how that looks kind of nice? It looks kind of convincing. What do you think?
Looks good.
So I guess that's my lesson for the night. I don't know, and unless you have something you want me to do or say, I kind of think I did it. I would really, I more or less stayed with this area here and this area here. I didn't do anything with this one yet, and I didn't do anything with those two yet. What I would do essentially is I would go in and I would build meshes exactly the same way that I did here and here, and I would work on this, and then I would go in and I'd work on this, and I would probably try to make it so that the edges get a little bit brighter and it gets darker as it goes down in. And then this way, if you do that with all these segments, you would end up with a really nice, also I'd focus a little bit more on the lower edges down here. Maybe I'd come in and let's try one more thing. Let's see if I can maybe throw one more line in here. Yeah, and see, I don't want that hot spot there. I want that to be orange. Okay, and then I want that again to be HSB. And I'm going to see whether I can darken that. I want it to get a little bit darker down in this area here, because this is down at the bottom of the thing, and you probably want a little bit of shadow in that area right there. So I'd come in and I'd start working on this area to try to get that area a little bit darker so that it kind of is like, you're falling in the shadow a little bit. You'd have to really spend a little bit of time and energy on this to get this thing working properly, and this probably isn't going to look right just yet, but I think you get the idea, So you see how that's beginning. And I'd probably have to work more in this bottom area. I'd just come in and I'd keep picking away at this bottom area, popping in a little bit darker color so that you get the feeling that there's a shadow going on under there, because see, that's working. Come across that line and put some darker lines in. That's too much. You really got to judge these things carefully. That's too much too. Bring it back a little bit. That's probably okay. and just keep playing, bringing some darkness in, come up a little bit maybe, and see what it would do if you put a little bit of darkness there. Okay, again, got to be careful not to put too much in, and then maybe a little over here, making it a little bit darker as you play around in here. Maybe come over onto this one, hit that one a little bit darker. Again, see what that does. Now if we let go of it. Okay, so you see how you're starting to get the feeling that this has got some weight and some volume to it?
Yes.
Yeah, and the nice thing about these mesh points is you can just keep playing with them and playing with them and playing with them and playing with them until you get something that you like, and then as soon as you get something that you like, boom, you're done. You stop, and then you got something that's really great. So this is what it looks like right now once we remove everything. So that's more or less my tomato. I don't know. I think we're getting somewhere with it. I know that I'm seeing too much line over here. Let me go. I guess I can't. It's going to show me that line anyway. Let me select the whole thing and just see if this will work. Object, lock, selection. There. Now, yes, it's locked. So essentially, I still have to get that a little bit lighter, a little bit better blend. Right here, definitely a little bit better blend. I like the line showing up here. I don't know how you feel about it, but I like that line there, and I like that line there. This needs to be worked out a little bit. You know, maybe I lighten this area in here a little bit. I like this area. I think that area works very well. This works good, and this is beginning to work. I think I just have to work a little bit more on blending those colors up a little bit more so that you get, and then I have to continue in this direction, a little bit this way, and then go a little bit hotter up here, and I would have a nice tomato. So that's how I would do it. So we've been doing this now since, I don't know, maybe just a little bit before 8 o'clock, right? So I've been working on this thing for, I don't know, maybe a half hour, would you say? Would that be about a fair guesstimate? Yeah. So in about half hour, I was able to get this looking like this. Perfect? No. There's still, I see a bunch of things. There's a hard edge here I got to get rid of. There's too much going on here. I got to get rid of that, But, you know, this is starting to work okay, and I got to smooth it a little bit. But it is working. And I think that, you know, if you want to give it a try, send it in along with your other work. And I'm not going to, if you do the line work, you'll get a really nice passing grade. I'll give you no trouble. But if you want to play around with this and see if you come up with something, you know, do it for your own benefit. This is, I think, one of the really great areas of Adobe Illustrator that a lot of people don't focus on very much. And I actually like it very much, but I don't have the opportunity to use it very often because it doesn't come up in the kind of work that I do. But it is a great area, and you can see that you can come up with something amazing. A person with real ability could make this almost photographic. I mean, seriously, I think you could see that, right? You could see that if somebody really knew what they were doing with this, which I don't particularly, but if you really knew what you're doing with something like this, you could come up with something that's pretty photographic looking, and that's amazing. So there you go. That's the end of my lesson for tonight. We're a little bit early. I'm willing to spend a little time with you if you have anything you want to ask me or do or say. I'm open forum for a little while. If not, I won't see you until after Christmas. I hope you all have a nice Christmas, and I hope you enjoyed what I did here, and I hope it made sense to you.
It did. I have a couple things.
Feel free. Go right ahead. We've got plenty of time.
Well, while we were in class, I finished my apple and done that, and it came out a lot better. I'm having trouble placing the gradient in.
You just got to practice with it. You just got to practice with it. This is the tool here, and what you need to remember is that you're going to start placing lines along the vertical or the horizontal axes. So if you click this, let's go Object, Unlock All. So if you click this guy here, this is the one you're working on. You see how I placed that line?
Well, I'm saying in the background. What? How you did it in a class.
Oh, go to the, I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Fit artboard and window. Okay, so here's what I did. I have layers here. Okay, so you know what? I promised you, didn't I, Francis? I told you I'd show you how to make that drop shadow, didn't I?
Yes.
Do you guys want me to show you how I did it?
And that reflection would be kind of cool to learn too.
Yeah, let me show you how I did that. But first, let me explain to you. I have layers here. Okay, so on the work layer, I have all of my objects on the work layer. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna show you. There's my work layer. All my objects are on the work layer. So if you want, and I got a shadow underneath this thing on that layer. I guess it isn't on that layer. Which layer is that on? Oh, that's also on the work layer. Let me drag that to the shadow layer. Oh, it's grouped. Edit, undo, move selected, and let's go with the direct selection tool. Click on this, and let me move it to that layer. So now that's on that layer. Okay, so that's on that layer. Okay, so the reflection's on the reflection layer over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to target the reflection layer. You want to put a gradient behind this. This is your assignment. This is what you're going to submit. Make sure that you're on a layer that's beneath your work right there. Okay, so I'm on the reflection layer, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and get a rectangle, drag a rectangle out, making sure I'm on the layer that I want it to be on. I'll drag the rectangle out just like this. Okay, and then I'll apply a gradient. The gradient panel will pop up, and right now it's going left to right, which is more or less the default. Here's the angles, and I happen to know that what I'm looking for is I'm looking for it to go dark to light this way. That would be 90 degrees, and there you have it. And that's really all you need to do. If you wanted to, you could select this, and you could move this up like that, and you could come over here and place another color on this, and that color could be like, say, black, and you could have a gradient that does something like this. You could do something like this. See what I mean? But you don't have to do that. This would be fine. There's your gradient. There you go. That's all there is to it. No big deal. Okay?
Mine's covering up my line drawing now.
That's because you have it above the line drawing. What you need to do is select it. If you're not going to put it on another layer like I did, you can go, you select it, and then go Object, Arrange, Send to Back.
Hold on, I messed up somehow.
No, just click on the
This is what happened. I was removing my layers.
Yeah.
And I guess I dropped it into one of my layers, and it ended up becoming a sub-layer.
Yeah.
So I went to delete the sub-layer, and my whole line drawing is gone.
Well, go Edit, Undo, and you'll bring it back.
Okay, edit. No.
Edit, Undo. Go do it again. Keep going. Edit, Undo until it comes back.
No. Okay, I see what you mean.
If it comes back, select the gradient and go Edit, or I'm sorry, Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Okay? Now I have just enough time. Let me clear this stuff out of here. Let me clear this all out. I have just enough time to show you the trick that I used to create my my drop shadow. So let me move this stuff over here. And let me take this guy and move this guy over here. Okay, so I'm going to delete this. There it goes. It's gone. So what I have basically is I have a pepper. Let me bring my layers back. Window, layers. All right, so I have basically the work layer that has the pepper on it. And then I have that shadow layer. And I have this layer called reflection. Okay, now the reflection actually has a rectangle that's there. I'm going to try to select that. It's not letting me select it. I'm going to throw that layer away and create another one. Delete that. There we go. Create a new layer, and I'm going to call this reflection. All right, reflection. So now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to come over here, zoom in on this so I can see it a little bit better. Move this over. I'm on the reflection layer now, so that means everything's above it. So I'm going to click on my entire, actually, before I do that, let me lock the shadow layer. Okay, so I locked the shadow layer. This little shadow now is locked. I'm going to select this thing, and I'm going to go Edit, Copy, and then I'm going to click on the reflection layer, and I'm going to go Edit, Paste in Place. Okay, now it's on the reflection layer, which means that it's behind both of those layers. Okay, you with me so far?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to use the reflect tool. And I'm going to reflect this thing along the horizontal axis, which means I'm going to flip it upside down. So I click on this and I hit preview and it's upside down. I hit OK. So now I have a pepper, one pepper that's right side up and one pepper that's upside down. The one pepper that's upside down is behind the one that's that's right side up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm just going to slowly move it down into position, and I'm going to bring it down until it's about where I want it, which would be, oh, I'd say probably right there is pretty good. And now I have basically a pepper that's upside down and in the position that I want it to be in, okay? I'm going to lock the work layer. The only layer that's open right now is my reflection layer, okay? So I have this layer, and I have the object on it. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to drag a rectangular shape in front of the object on the lower layer, and it is a gradient. You see the gradient? It comes in as a gradient because that's what I had selected last, right? A gradient. Okay, you with me so far?
Yeah.
All right, so what do I have here? I have the pepper, and I have a gradient, and the pepper is behind the gradient being covered by the gradient shape. You got that? Is that clear? And Francis, are you here with me? Make sense?
I'm here.
Okay, is it making sense so far?
Yes.
So I'm going to select, now remember, I got those two layers locked, so the only thing I can I can't mess with those things, but I can select all of that. You see, I got all of it selected. Go to Object, go to the Window menu, go to Transparency, and bring the transparency layer over, or transparency panel over here. And you see where it says Make Mask or Make Opacity Mask? See where I'm going to make opacity mask? That's what I'm making, an opacity mask. Essentially, what this command is going to do is it's going to tell that gradient to use the black and white areas to mask out part of what's behind it. That's what's known as an opacity mask. When I let go of this, I get this, which means essentially you're seeing through the white and you're hiding the black. But if I reverse this or invert it, I get that. And now if I click that mask, and if I go to Window menu and I open up my gradient, there's my gradient, and if I keep in mind that the, watch what happens when I start messing with this. If I drag this up this way, do you see what's happening? The white is making the thing disappear. It's making the pepper disappear. So the more white I introduce into this opacity mask right here, by dragging this closer to the black, the more of that's going to hide. So white conceals and black reveals. So as I move it closer to the black, more of that's going to disappear. And I think that's probably about where I want it. Now, what I can do is I can come back here and click on this, and I can take the opacity. Watch, I'm going to go to the Effect menu. I'm sorry, the View menu, and I'm going to hide edges. And if I come over to the opacity and I start lowering the opacity on it, you see how it makes it even lighter? And you can kind of control exactly where you want this to be. And maybe somewhere like there is probably pretty good. Maybe let's go to 75. Let's go to 75. There we go. There we go. That's probably good. That's how I did it. Not hard, right?
Right.
You think you can remember that?
If not, we got the video.
You got the video, or you can contact me. Yeah, but anyway, that's it. That's how I did it. And it's all not too difficult, and it really works easily. So there you go. I'm done. Any other questions? If not, I'll end it for tonight and wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing you for our last week.
So the live session will probably be in the morning? The recording?
No, it'll be in the evening, but it'll be from the 4th to the, what was it, the 9th, I guess, is the 4th to the 9th. I don't have the schedule in front of me here.
No. I'm talking about this live session.
This one here?
Yeah, the recording whenever you.
Oh, the recording. I'll try to get it in tonight. If I can't get it
tomorrow's fine because I'm gonna look at the other one first.
Yeah, it'll probably be tomorrow morning. But so what do you think? Was I clear enough with all this? Was this okay? Were you okay with what I did? And
Yes.
okay, pretty clear.
Yes.
What do you want me to say this out as?
What?
What do you want me to save it out as? Because I'm done with it now.
Did it work out? You're good?
Yeah, finally the gradient and everything worked out, and I kind of went a little different with it.
Okay, it's fine.
Instead of, what's it called, linear,
Linear?
I went to radial, I don't know how to say it, RADIAL.
Radial?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of went a little different with it, but.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you know, as long as you did the assignment the way the assignment explains it, you'll be good.
Yep, it's done now.
Great. All right. Well, you know what? Let me do this. Let me just come up here and let me stop recording this. So that's it. We're over for tonight.